Welcome. This is the third Sunday after Pentecost, proper 6. And I am speaking to you today not necessarily about the scripture, which is what I would normally talk about, but I want to talk about ordinary time. Ordinary time is this time when it's signified by a liturgical color green. It is the time where we're not in a major season like Easter, Christmas, Lent, or Advent. And it's really gotten a bad rap because when you say ordinary in our English language, we automatically go to plain, and that's not what ordinary time means. Ordinary comes from the word ordo, the Latin word ordo, which means ordered, or ordinal, which means numbered. So numbered or ordered time. So it's not ordinary, it's still a very important time in our scripture, and we focus in on the whole life of Jesus Christ, not just a specific like a birth narrative or his death, resurrection, ascension, but his whole life we'll focus in during ordinary time. And so as we go through this long green season, which is the season after Pentecost, you may hear the preacher refer to this time as ordinary time, and we're never going to reference that in ordinary time as in it's ordinary and plain, but ordinary as in that it's ordered. So I mentioned as I started out that we're in proper 6. If you go to the readings in the Revised Common Lectionary, we have moved into our propers, and we have proper 6 this week, proper 7, so forth and so on. They'll only be interrupted if there's a feast day, and for the upcoming future, we do not have any feasts on our horizon right now. So pretty much for the rest of the summer, we're going to be following the order in the proper. So next week will be proper 7 and so forth and so on. Now, if you are one of those who likes to track our readings, you'll notice that if you go to lectionarypage.net, that there is 2 tracks. There's one track that will have, the tracks are referring to the 2 Old Testament tracks. So one is a narrative track, and we'll start with Genesis, and this year Genesis, and we'll continue running through Genesis and Exodus, and it's pretty much a straightforward walk through the Old Testament. There's Psalms that are associated with that. The other track is thematic, which means that they'll look at the Old Testament. They'll look at the epistle reading and the gospel reading, and then they'll tie that into the Old Testament reading and the psalm. So you have the narrative reading, which will be track 1. You'll have the thematic reading, which is track 2. It's always the preacher's choice, but we at Redeemer have defaulted to track 1, which is the narrative track. But don't be surprised if we're going through this year and all of a sudden we jump off of our Genesis, Exodus reading, and we jump into Isaiah or some other place in the Old Testament, Micah or someplace like that, and it may seem like a little bit of a shock, but the preacher has a reason for jumping into that thematic side of the Revised Common Lectionary. What will not change during ordinary time, during the propers, is the gospel and the epistle readings. They will not change. Only the Old Testament and the Psalms. And in a nutshell, that's what ordinary time is. So I hope that I've enlightened it just a little bit, and now you can enjoy hearing the readings and having a little more depth in understanding them. Have a blessed day. Thank you.